Here on the southwest of the Isle of Wight, the National Trust looks after an amazing wildlife-rich and diverse landscape. It's about 10 square kilometres in extent. And in this film we're going to discover the wide range of habitats across this area, the wildlife they support and how we look after it. From the mobile cliffs and coastal flowers of Compton Bay to the amazing fossils that you can find on the beach. And then at Dunsbury, we're restoring previously intensively farmed land. This is backed by one of the biggest extents of pristine chalk grassland on the Isle of Wight, full of flowers and butterflies. And just to the east, Mottistone Down and the heathland of Mottistone Common, home to mysterious churring nightjars. Our story starts on the coast.
This is Compton Bay on the southwest coast of the Isle of Wight, and it's an absolutely amazing place to come and visit. This area of coast is subject to land slippage. The area I'm standing on now used to be on the cliff top. Sections of cliff literally just slide down through rotational slip. The coastal erosion means that we're losing land, but at the same time, all of these amazing habitats are being created. You can see these soft cliff exposures which are used by mining bees and wasps. And then the terraces of flowery grassland that are used by many nectaring species such as Glanville fritillary. And then right in the bottom, the almost lava flow-like mud flows create this moonscape, but with pools of fresh water that are used by many species such as newts and frogs and toads. The cliff-top grasslands at Compton are spectacular. You can see carpets of wildflowers. Just here you've got a great diversity of plants. For instance, the bird's-foot trefoil, which is the food plant of the common blue butterfly. You've also got ribwort plantain, which is common everywhere, but is the food plant here for the Glanville fritillary. Of course, many people know the wild thrift, which is very abundant on the cliffs. And also, amongst all this, you've got the beautiful crimson flower of the common vetch. In the summer, on any warm day, you can see hundreds of people enjoying the sand, the sea and the surf. But it's an eroding coastline, and that makes things very difficult for providing access and car parking. But we're undertaking a lot of renovations in our car parks to improve the facilities so that many more people can come and enjoy Compton Bay.
Compton Bay has remained a popular destination for locals and holidaymakers. This location draws people year-round, and we want to be able to provide safe and appropriate amenities year-round too. The current car park and toilet facilities that the Trust own here are now simply below a standard that we wish to provide. We face high maintenance costs because of ageing systems, and because of the coastal erosion that we see here, we simply don't want any more tarmac to fall onto the beach. Our plan is to build a fantastic new toilet block and car park. So Robin, these are the most up-to-date plans of Compton Bay Car Park. As you know, we've got the brand new toilet facility that goes in this location here.
Yeah.
Building images.
I was looking forward to this, yes.
Look something like this.
Oh, that's amazing.
So we've got
so
a
much
lovely...
better than what's there now, isn't
Yes, yeah. We've got our lovely timber clad and our burnt emblem on here.
Yes, I see.
The green roof on, you can see behind the solar panels. And then for the car park, we're opening up the access road here, making that dual carriageway, and the cars will then have a new, more direct route into the car park along here. And this will become a nice green open public space.
It's going to be so much better, isn't it?
Yeah, much better. We're not letting this mobile coastline stop us from providing the right level of amenity at this popular location. This coastline is one of no active intervention, meaning that we have to be ready to roll with its changes. And so we're going to make sure that the building we provide can be moved. The work in the ground is as minimal as possible, and the car park will benefit from an easier to access layout.
One of the benefits of coastal erosion is that it reveals fossils on the beach, and it's these fossils that tell us the story of what life was like 125 million years ago. This was a coastal landscape backed by a mountain range and forests of tree ferns. Occasionally rivers flowed in spates of flash floods, carrying the burnt remains of timber from the many forest fires and bits of dinosaur bone from the dinosaurs that had died on the banks of the river. Occasionally you can find large fossil vertebrae, like this one of an iguanodon dinosaur. But more often, you find just small bits of bone like this, and you can actually see the honeycomb structure fossilized in the rock from the original bone. Some of the bits of fossilized wood that you can find on the beach are encrusted with iron pyrites. This is sulfurous bacteria which has mineralized and combined with iron. But the most exciting things to look for are the footcasts of iguanodon dinosaurs, and there's one right here. These footcasts have fallen out of the cliff onto the beach. In Cretaceous times, this was a broad river valley, and as dinosaurs were coming down to the riverside to drink, their footprints left deep impressions in the mud. The following flash flood filled these footprints up with silt. It's these footcasts that we can find on the beach today. So here at Compton Bay, it's a great place to come if you're a dinosaur enthusiast.
We're at Dunsbury Farm, which is a medium-sized farm on the southwest coast of the Isle of Wight. We've owned Dunsbury for about 7 years. It was formerly intensively farmed, and then after that we were able to make changes to the farming regime on Dunsbury to make it more nature-friendly. Now, where it's in fallow, it looks completely unmanaged, but it's all part of the management system. We need to allow nature to recover the ground, to actually stabilise the soil. We've seen a number of things returning. Species like Glanville fritillary from the coast moving up and feeding in these areas. We're seeing a lot of things like wild carrot and thrift moving into the fields. They're the cliff plants. And also we've seen butterflies from the downs, such as chalk-hill blues and dark green fritillaries, coming down and feeding on Dunsbury, on the nectar-rich thistles and other species that we've got here. We're certainly seeing some successes. It's good to see so many native plant species colonising the former arable areas, including these yellow catseas and hawkbits, and also the ribwort plantain, which is here, which is the food plant for the Glanville fritillary caterpillar. When the ground was in cereal production, large fields were monocultures, so there was just single species of food crop, and obviously this isn't very good for wildlife. And by allowing it to revert naturally, we've seen a wide variety of plants come into the area, and this is supporting a fairly large number of insects which formerly weren't around. This is a really encouraging sign. This is the larval case of the wasp spider, and the female creates this amazing Chinese lantern-looking structure and lays her eggs inside it, and then from that will hatch out lots of little spiderlings. What we've been able to do at Dunsbury is to create wildlife-rich habitats where there used to be monocultures which supported very little wildlife. So not only is Dunsbury really important as linking up and connecting the downs and the coast, but it's also providing an oasis for invertebrates, and particularly pollinators, that we need to pollinate the majority of our food crops. This is Brook Down, and from here you can get some spectacular views of the rest of the island. Looking to the north, you've got the Solent, And then to the west, the iconic cliffs of Tennyson Down, and below them Compton Farm, and then you've got Dunsbury and Compton Bay below us. And to the east you've got Mottistone Down, and then when you look to the southern point of the Isle of Wight you've got St Catherine's Point and Knowles Farm. What a beautiful view. Brook Down is part of the chalk ridge that spans the Isle of Wight, coming out at Tennyson Down on the west and at Culver in the east. And when you find really good quality chalk grassland like this, you may find up to 30 to 40 species of plant in just a square metre. And just here alone, there are a wide diversity of species, such as Burnett's saxifrage. We've got Lesser Century, also small scabious. And when you start looking into the grass, you suddenly realise there's hundreds of snails too, little banded and whorl snails like this one. Brook Down's a really special place for plants. In the spring you find the yellow cowslip and also the green wing orchid, which is now quite rare. And then as the season progresses you get a succession of plants and invertebrates appearing. In June, if you're lucky, on top of the downs you can see hundreds of dark green fritillary butterflies, which are actually bright orange. And later in the season, one of nature's real spectacular highlights is the massive hatch of chalk-hill blues that can be seen on Brook Down. Also, look out for the amazing Adonis blue. The colour of iridescent turquoise is such a jewel in the landscape. As we come into late summer, the top of Mottistone Common comes into its own as the heather comes out into flower. You can see here we've got bell heather and also ling, and also bristlebent, which is a grassland of high quality heathlands. But it isn't just about the flowers on heathland. There's plenty of bare ground, and this provides basking areas for adders and common lizards. And also the flowers provide nectaring for many, many species such as bumblebees and grayling butterfly. The heathland and gorse habitats together provide excellent nesting sites for Dartford warblers. And if you're lucky enough to be here at dusk, during the summer months you can see our summer visitor, the nightjar, which feeds on moths and other insects in the failing light. As with the grasslands on the chalk downlands, the grasslands and heathland on Mottistone Common also need grazing. And at the moment we've got cows grazing this area. We also manage the scrub, which develops when the grazing isn't sufficient. We do this by mowing gorse and also occasionally burning it. But this isn't enough. What we're looking to do is to introduce a wider variety of livestock that will actually manage the scrub for us, so we can lessen our carbon footprint by using animals instead of tractor diesel. We're now at Mottistone, and behind me you can see the manor and gardens which are at the heart of the estate.
So here we are at Mottistone Gardens and Manor. You can see I'm surrounded by colour in the most beautiful garden, which goes for around about 6.5 acres. And right behind me, an Elizabethan manor house, just waiting to be discovered. What a fantastic garden, full of colour. You can see it all around me. Different varieties and species of flowers. And in fact, this is one of my favourite spots in the garden, not just because of the flowers, but also because of all the little bugs and insects that you'll find. You'll find bees and butterflies. And if you're really lucky, you might even see the hummingbird hawk moth. So the garden's been developed since around about the 1960s, or at least everything you can see today. It was Lady Vivian Nicholson, who was a tenant of Mottistone Manor. She was inspired by her Sicilian upbringing, so you see lots of exotic planting schemes. And we still have now lots of exotic plants in the garden, probably a lot of which have been planted by our volunteers. We have a fantastic team of volunteers who come in all year round in all weathers and support our senior gardener, Ed, to tend to everything in the garden. there are lots of places to stop and enjoy the garden. So we've got benches on the lawns, we've got little hiding places in the woodland, we've got little nooks and crannies in hedges like this, lots of places where you can find a private spot to just sit, admire the view, listen to the sounds. You can even see the sea from the gardens. There are so many places to enjoy the views and the sounds of Mottistone Gardens, but perhaps one of the best places is our tea garden, where you can sit and enjoy a cup of tea, a slice of cake, maybe a cream tea. And just behind you there, you'll find our shack, which is the most magical little place. A little sort of TARDIS-like structure that was designed by architect Seeley and Paget, used as their countryside retreat and their office for working in. Mottistone Manor has a fascinating history which goes back for more than 1,000 years. In fact, it was even mentioned in the Domesday Book. There was a Saxon dwelling here, then a Tudor dwelling, and then this fantastic L-shaped Elizabethan manor. We even have a date stone above the door which reads 1567. Mottistone Manor wasn't always the grand Elizabethan manor that we can see before us today. In fact, it's had very mixed fortunes and passed through many different hands. One of the most significant parts of its history was the Great Landslide of 1703, which covered the back portion of the manor. In fact, the back portion of the manor lay covered for around about 200 years. And during that period, the manor was used as like a disused farmhouse. There was a pond outside and animals wandering around where the visitors now enjoy the gardens. Not until Charles Seeley acquired the estate in 1861 did the manor and gardens start to look like they do now. This is where the story of Mottistone Manor becomes really interesting. The story of Warhorse, warrior, who survived some of the greatest battles of the First World War with General Jack, Charles Seeley's son. Warhorse, warrior, was born on the Isle of Wight, and he came back and spent the rest of his days following the war here at Mottistone Manor. I'm so proud of the work that we do here at Mottistone Gardens with an amazing staff team who work from the heart and a dedicated team of volunteers. It really is a very special place.
Mottistone Manor is at the heart of the 500-acre Mottistone estate, with its wonderfully diverse habitats and ancient remains such as the Neolithic Longstone. We've been looking after this landscape since the 1960s.
Our vision for Mottistone Estate is for it to be rich in nature. That's the foundation of it. Much of the estate has been under intensive agriculture for many years, and much of the wildlife has been pushed to the edges. So we're looking to move away from intensive agriculture, which is target driven, and to allow nature to take centre stage. And to do that, we're looking at re-establishing natural processes, allowing nature and livestock to shape the landscape. One of the amazing things about Mottistone is the diversity of habitats we've got here. And just behind us, you can see this lovely lowland meadow with the cattle grazing. You can see the diversity of plants in flower at the moment. This field about 20 years ago was a part of a dairy farm, so it was fertilised. And over the last 20 years, this has reverted to a more natural grassland in the absence of any fertiliser or other chemicals being put on it. In contrast, behind it, you can see two arable fields that are in cereals at the moment, and they're almost devoid of wildlife. Again, wildlife has been pushed to the boundaries. One of the things we're looking to do here is to revert those arable fields to rough grazing and more natural grassland, and this should provide transition between the calcareous grassland through the clay, which provides a more neutral grassland, and then onto the acid grassland slopes above, which are also very rich in flowers. And by getting rid of pesticides and fertiliser off the estate, we should see natural processes taking hold, and also the species that couldn't survive under that regime should start to move back into the landscape. The work that we're doing here and in other places is really important. What we're trying to do is to reverse nature decline. Species are declining and animals are becoming extinct in places. But what we're actually doing is setting aside places where nature can thrive. And this is also really important for agriculture, because we all know that pollinators are declining, our bee species are reducing in number, and we need those pollinators to pollinate most of our crops. So by actually having areas where pollinators can thrive and increase, we'll actually support agriculture in the surrounding landscape.
There's an extensive network of footpaths and bridleways to explore the Mottistone estate and Compton Bay and Downs. It's a great way to discover the history and wildlife of this amazing landscape. From the Downs to the coast,